In 1978, the movie industry had its biggest year since World War II, and movies featuring lighthearted entertainment were the year's top moneymakers at the box office.
I think this situation absolutely requires that a really futile and stupid gesture be done on somebody's part.
We're just the guys to do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it!
Look at this. That's a shark. Look at the outline. Look at the mouth, the eyes.
Is that what it is? Sorry, I just don't see it.
Neither do I. It's nothing.
But I'm telling you, and I'm telling everybody at this table, that that's a shark. And I know what a shark looks like because I've seen one up close. And you better do something about this one because I don't intend to go through that hell again.
What do these three movies have in common? They placed first, second, and third at the box office.
Obviously, the public was sending a message to Hollywood, and the message was, play it light. The big hits were films without a serious thought in their heads. And here's a man with a lot of thoughts in his head, Roger Ebert, the Pulitzer Prize-winning film critic of the Chicago Sun-Times.
And across the aisle from me is Gene Siskel, film critic of the Chicago Tribune and CBS TV News in Chicago. Now, this is a special edition of Sneak Previews because instead of reviewing the new movies, we're going to take a look back at the year 1978 in film. It was a year when people went to the movies to escape, to be entertained, and not necessarily to think or be challenged. We're going to talk about some of the year's trends. We'll explain the big winners at the box office, and then Gene and I will both select our choices of the year's best films and our dogs of the year, the very worst films of the last 12 months. Gene's going to start out with 1978's top moneymaker, Grease.
Roger, the biggest hit of the year featured the year's biggest star, the Saturday Night Fever king, John Travolta, the movie's hottest singing and dancing star to hit the screen since Fred Astaire and Gene Kelly. Music was certainly key to the success of Grease. The album was almost as big a hit as the movie. The movie sold the songs, and the songs sold the movie, like this one from the beginning of the film.
What'd you do this summer, Sandy?
Oh, I spent most of it at the beach. I met a boy there.
Hauled your cookies all the way to the beach for some guy?
Well, he was sort of special.
There ain't no such thing.
He was really romantic.
Come on, you don't want to hear all the horny details. Are you
Summer loving had me a blast.
Summer loving happened so fast.
I met a girl crazy for me.
Met a boy cute as can be.
Summer days drifting away to other summer nights. Tell me more, did you get very far?
Tell me more, like does he have a
She swam by me, she got a cramp.
Here and by me, that was so damn.
I saved her life, she nearly drowned.
He showed up, splashing around.
Summer sun, something's begun, but other summer nights.
Tell me more, was it love at first sight?
Tell me more. Did she put up a fight?
A well-edited, beautifully choreographed musical number. Now, the film was as light as a bubble. It had nothing to do with the original concept of the play, which was about tough kids on Chicago's Northwest Side. Well, in the movie, it was just a golden Hollywood fantasy about the 50s. I didn't think Grease was particularly interesting when Travolta was off the screen. Some of the sets were sloppy, but kids liked it enough to see it again and again and again. And their repeated viewings made Grease a monster hit. You know, friends of mine have teenage kids, And these kids had memorized the musical numbers. They knew how to dance it and talk it. They had to see it half a dozen times to be able to do that.
I saw it 3 times myself. You want to hear a song?
I think I could join you. I saw it 3 times,
You'd
too.
be Olivia Newton-John.
No,
okay.
no.
Okay. You know, Gene, it's almost as if everybody was collectively trying to escape into the memories of innocent school days last year. Grease resurrected high school in the 50s, and 1978's second biggest hit was an orgy of nostalgic escapism for college in the 1960s. The movie was National Lampoon's Animal House, which inspired a national epidemic of toga parties and put an actor named John Belushi on the cover of Newsweek. Now, here's Belushi now at a fraternity beer blast, playing his favorite role, music lover.
I gave my love a cherry that had no stone. I gave my love a chicken that had no bones. I gave my love a story that had no end. I give...
Sorry.
He's great.
The movie was about the most animalistic fraternity house on campus, and I guess you could see there that Belushi stood supreme among the animals. Well, there are a lot of movies about students 10 years ago, too, but in 1968, the students in movies were staging protests and demonstrating against the war. Now, in Animal House, the administration should have been demonstrating against the students. If 1978 was a year for escapism, then Animal House was a perfect example. It was vulgar at times, yes, and it was sloppy, but it had more laughs per minute than any other film last year.
You know, the key to it could be that movies really do follow life, and that life on campus today is lighthearted like we see in that picture, not like the serious campus maybe 10 years ago, 68. Well, Jaws 2, the third top moneymaker of 1978, for me was just a cheap imitation of the original Jaws. Still, it turned out to be incredibly the most successful sequel of all time. It had the same story as the original, the same island, the same stupid mayor, the same police chief, the same script. I guess people love to see that shark eat other people, and Jaws 2 definitely had more attack scenes than the original. Maybe that's why it was such a big hit.
Over there! Oh, Betty,
Oh, there's a big shark out here! Hold on! Get down! Get me out! Get me out of the water! There! Watch out!
Lots of teeth, lots of screams. I thought it was a sloppy film, but apparently it worked for one simple reason. The Jaws shark has become a classic movie villain that ranks with Frankenstein's monster and Dracula. Apparently, people will always pay to see a great white shark picture now, especially if it's released in the summertime when people are thinking about going back and doing some swimming.
I agree with you, Gene. It was pure trash, as a matter of fact. Now, the original picture had a lot of suspense. In this one, the shark comes on, starts eating teenagers, and that's it. Now, sometimes I don't like teenagers so much myself, but that's going too far. The fourth biggest hit of the year was Heaven Can Wait, made by Warren Beatty, who's had a lot of big hits. But this was his biggest because he correctly predicted that the public wanted a nice, light, romantic fantasy. There was, in fact, only one kiss in the whole movie, and it takes place in this scene. Now, Beatty plays an athlete who's died young. He's been returned to Earth in another body. He's fallen in love with Julie Christie, and now he's trying to hint to her that maybe they might meet again in his third or fourth reincarnation.
We've got a great life ahead, you and me. And nobody's going to take that away from us.
Why are you looking at me like that?
I'm just memorizing your face. I want to memorize everything about you, so no matter what happens, I won't forget you.
What's going to happen?
Nothing's going to happen. You'd never forget me either, would you? I mean, that thing you said you saw in me, you said it was something in my eyes, remember?
Mm-hmm.
Well, If someday somebody came up to you, he might even be a football player, and he acted like he'd seen you before, you'd notice that same thing, wouldn't you? Or even if you thought you did, you'd give him a chance, wouldn't you? He might be a good guy. He could be anybody. He could even be a quarterback.
I don't understand what you're saying.
I'm just acting crazy. Betty? It's all right. There's nothing to be afraid of.
Well, that's a sweet scene, but give it a moment's thought, Gene. Now, 10 years ago, with Bonnie and Clyde, Warren Beatty correctly predicted our developing national concern with violence, and a decade ago, we were into serious subjects, but I'll bet Heaven Can Wait would have been dismissed by filmgoers then. Yet, at the same time, in 1978, it seemed to satisfy some sort of hunger we've been developing for sweetness and light and romance.
I talked to him about the film. He said he was thinking about making 2 other more serious pictures, had trouble with the projects, and decided finally, he said, I'm going to make a picture I want to see. And maybe that's the signature for the whole year. Pictures that people obviously want to see.
Maybe 1978 had less in common with 68 than with 28 and 38. The old motto, give the people what they want. Now, 10 years ago, filmmakers were making films about things that they thought ought to be explored, with thoughts that they wanted to explore and lessons that they wanted to teach. And that wasn't the case this year. It was more of a genre year, musicals, science fiction, entertainment pictures.
I heard one good explanation for why we got all these lighthearted pictures. It came from the director of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, science fiction film, Phil Kaufman. He told me he thinks that people are simply bored with everyday life, with their jobs, everything. They don't want to see anything remotely related to this Earth. So we get the science fiction films that take us out of space, and also Grease, which comes out of nowhere, I don't know.
Yeah, you know, we were talking 3 or 4 years ago, there was a truism, the musical is dead. Last year's picture was a musical, the biggest picture of the year, Grease. And also, if you look back at the other top grossers of the year, there were holdovers from the year before, 1977. You had Star Wars, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, another musical, Saturday Night Fever. And these are all kind of in an old basic Hollywood tradition.
One thing that concerns me as a film critic, and probably you too, is are we ever going to get serious pictures? Are these blockbusters going to crowd us out? I hope not. I mean, I hope that the Hollywood chieftains don't look at the gross of these pictures and say, hey, I'm just going to play it light.
No more little pictures, because one of the things that bothers me is this mass kind of limbing syndrome of the movie-going public. They feel that they have to see a picture of everybody else has seen it. It's almost like people went to see Star Wars, or they went to see Saturday Night Fever, or Grease, or Jaws 2 because everybody else had. You know, don't be the last one on your block. And at the same time, they were missing out on some other very good pictures.
Yeah, I mean, we're not saying don't go to see a picture that everyone wants to see, but you got to take a chance, or the small picture is going to get crowded out. And in 1979, we both know there's some big films specifically about Vietnam, one called The Deer Hunter and Apocalypse Now. These are big, serious pictures. If they get blasted out, we'll never see another film with ideas again.
That may be a bit extreme, but let's hope it doesn't come true, because some of the films we liked best last year were the serious ones that did have some ideas. So let's go on from the box office favorites of the public to some of our own favorite movies of 1978. Now, Gene and I each have selected 2 films we thought were the year's very best. My first choice is An Unmarried Woman, with Jill Clayburgh as a happily married woman who isn't happily married after all. Watch her face in this scene.
Marty, come on. What is it, honey? What's the matter? What is it? What? Tell me.
I'm in love with somebody else. I've been seeing another woman for over a year. At first, you know, I thought it was just a thing, but it isn't. I love her. I want to live with her. Oh, God, I don't want to hurt you. I want to hurt Patty. But I can't. You don't know her or anything. Her name is Marcia Brenner. She's a teacher. She's 26. I better have Bloomingdale's, for Christ's sake. I was standing there buying a shirt, you know, and she was standing next to me. She asked me if I liked the shirt that she was buying for her father. Oh, God. I'm so sorry.
You tell Patty. You tell Patty that you're sorry.
I'm in love with her.
After that scene, Jill Clayburgh goes through a divorce and a period of being alone, and then a tentative return to life. She takes lots of chances in her performance. She was way out there on an emotional limb, and I'd like to make a flat prediction. Jill Clayburgh will win this year's Academy Award as Best Actress. Write that down, okay?
I'm writing.
The movie was written and directed by Paul Mazursky, a filmmaker with a real gift for creating characters we absolutely do believe in. He made Harry and Tonto and Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice. He's never before made a movie as good as this one.
Well, I might disagree with you. I think that Harry and Tonto was even better. But surely this is the kind of film we were just talking about. The small, serious picture that, let's hope, is not crowded out by some big blockbuster. Fortunately, this one wasn't. It did pretty well at the box office. Right. Unlike my favorite film from 1978, which I can safely predict that fewer than 1 out of 50 of our viewers saw. Now, that might suggest it's some kind of obscure foreign film about life's great mysteries. But no, it's Straight Time, an American film about one of our best actors and most popular stars, Dustin Hoffman, who's playing in this film a recently paroled armed robber, a man addicted to crime. Now, in the film's most dazzling sequence, a dramatic robbery of a jewelry store, Hoffman's partner serves as timekeeper so they can get out before the cops have time to react. Now, watch as Hoffman claws his way through the jewels. We see his greed and addiction to crime. Hoffman just can't stop.
Let's go. Let's hit it.
We got time.
Time's up. Let's go. Hey, let's go, man. Let's go, man. We gotta get out of here.
There was a piece here. There was another piece here.
I don't believe this, man. I really don't believe it. There's gonna be an army out there, man.
Where was it? There was a big piece here.
Last damn time, man. This is it. Put the game the same way, the driver, the whole goddamn thing. This is it. It's all over. Your child, man. You act like a 2-year-old child, for Christ's sake. I know you, man. I know you like it, but it's the last damn time I'm working with you. I mean it. What are you doing? Get over there. Get over there and sit down. Put your head down. What are you doing?
Where's the watch?
Hey, we gotta get out of here, man.
Now, that seemed like a real robbery to me. Very exciting. Unfortunately, Straight Time wasn't given very wide distribution, so I hope that if the picture comes back to your town, you'll see it, because Straight Time is a very special motion picture.
I thought so, too, with a great performance by Dustin Hoffman. And also, you know, most criminal movies end with a criminal either going out in a hail of glory or he's redeemed in some way. This one had a more realistic ending.
Sure did.
My other favorite film this year, for myself and a lot of other people, was the year's most beautiful film, Days of Heaven. It was set in the Texas Panhandle in the days before World War I, and it was so wonderfully photographed that nature itself had one of the roles, as in, for example, this scene on a riverboat. 3 of the characters float along, and one of them, a 12-year-old girl, talks about what they've been through and how it felt.
Nobody's perfect. There was never a perfect person around. You just got half devil and half angel in you. She promised herself she'd lead a good life from now on. She blamed it all on herself. It's good. I like it. She didn't care if she was happy or not. She just wanted to make up for what she did wrong.
We found cops.
The sun looks ghostly when there's a mist on a river and everything's quiet. I never knowed it before. You could see people on the shore, but it was far off and you couldn't see what they were doing. They were probably calling for help with something, or they were trying to bury somebody or something. We've seen trees that the leaves are shaking and it looks like shadows of guys coming at you and stuff. We heard owls squawking away, hooting away. We didn't know where we were going, what we were gonna do. I've never been on a boat before. That was the first time.
That little girl's voice is haunting. It's chilling. The movie was about a love triangle in which no one was really wrong, but everyone got hurt. And it was about poverty and about working the land and about the awesome loneliness of people marooned in a landscape so vast they seemed insignificant and almost pathetic against it. Days of Heaven was written and directed by Terrence Malick, who made it into one of the most beautiful and poetic films I've ever seen.
And I agree with you. It sort of reminded me of Wuthering Heights, with the land bigger than the characters, just like you mentioned. And I think this was sort of a serious escape film. Yes, it took us to a faraway world, but again, filled with real people and real ideas. And that can be also said about my second favorite film in 1978, directed by Ingmar Bergman, Autumn Sonata, which I think will be remembered as actress Ingrid Bergman's last film. She's announced her retirement from movies, reportedly due to ill health. Now, in Autumn Sonata, Ingrid Bergman, speaking in her native Swedish, gives a riveting performance as an internationally known concert pianist who visits her daughter Liv Ullmann for the first time in 7 years. But now there's only resentment left between them, and an argument that lasts deep into the night. They bitterly recall the past.
När jag kom hem på hotellet kunde jag inte somna. 3:00 på morgonen ringde jag till pappa och berättade att jag hade bestämt mig att jag skulle sluta med resorna. Jag skulle stanna hemma hos dig och pappa och vi skulle bli en riktig familj. Josef blev förfärligt glad. Vi grät av rörelse båda två. Ja, vi talade i 2 timmar. Ja, så var det med den saken. Och den sommaren var vi var lyckliga, tror jag. Var vi inte det? Du var inte lycklig.
Nej, jag var inte lycklig.
Men du sa ju att du aldrig hade haft det bättre.
Jag vill inte att du ska bli ledsen.
Ja, så ser du. Så är det. Så är... Vad gjorde jag för fel?
Jag var 14 år. Och i brist på bättre vände du hela din uppdämda energi mot mig. Du hade gett dig fan på att du hade försummat mig. Och nu skulle ta igen försummelse. Jag bärde mig så gott jag kunde, men jag hade inte en chans.
Again, some real pain there. The film, I think, is at its best when director Ingmar Bergman simply places his camera on a close-up on Ingrid Bergman's face. That's when we see a woman in genuine conflict about her life. And the conflict is, how do you reconcile your public career with your personal responsibilities to your family? And I think now, at a time when more and more women with children are beginning to have careers, that's a very provocative question.
That's a question that Bergman has asked himself over and over in the last 10 or 15 years. How does any kind of a couple, man and wife, brother and sister, mother and daughter, how do they get together? But I have a question for you. I got a call from a reader the other day, and she saw Autumn Sonata on both of our best 10 lists, so she decided she'd go to see it with her husband. She said, I couldn't make head or tail of it. What was it about? Well, now, that leads me to my question. Why is it that millions of people go to see Grease and nobody goes to see our 4 best films, or many fewer people anyway?
Well, I don't know. I think we really love the pictures that we're talking about. I mean, these are pictures that we care about. I don't hold any resentment against a film being successful. Some people think that's true about critics, that we hate films that are successful. No, we like those, but listen, we see a lot of pictures, and we want to see the serious stuff,
I think
too.
Maybe you put your finger up, because I loved Grease, too. Of course I enjoyed it. I liked Animal House. That was on my best 10 list. But we see 200 or 300 movies a year.
Sure.
Maybe we're overexposed. We want to see something different. We appreciate it when something is different. People who go 4 or 5 times a year want to see things that they expect to see.
Yes, it's true. For example, I've always wanted to see John Wayne play a weakling once in a while. I don't want to see the same, I don't want to see the same stuff over and over. Maybe that's the one time when the critic is a little bit different from the general audience.
Maybe we're trying to stretch things out, say, go see Grease, see Ingmar Bergman, too.
That's a perfect way to say it.
But now look who's here in the balcony. It's our old friend Spot the Wonder Dog, our old pal who hates bad movies as much as we do, don't you, Spot? And Spot, you ought to bark your little head off tonight, because this time we've got the Dogs of the Year, the two worst movies of 1978. And my choice is The Medusa Touch, which starred Richard Burton as a man with strange, out-of-control psychic powers. Just look at this ridiculous scene as Burton makes a plane fall out of the sky.
Something's wrong. You've got full power, Captain.
Great special effects, huh? You can see that both the plane and the city are toy models that came straight out of the hobby shop. And by the way, what is a great Shakespearean actor doing staring at an airplane anyway?
It's all gone haywire here.
It sure has gone haywire. You bet the whole film went haywire. The Medusa Touch, not just bad, not just awful, but a true disaster and the dog of the year, making a convincing case for the possibility that Richard Burton is not only one of the best actors of our time, but also on his bad days, one of the worst.
I agree, Roger, and coincidentally, my dog of the year also stars Richard Burton, this time in a would-be adventure film about mercenary white soldiers in black Africa. It's called The Wild Geese, and it was pretty foul.
Oh.
For example, take a look at this scene, which should have been a high point in the film. Richard Burton and a band of fat and 50th mercenaries storm an African prison where they hope to liberate a political prisoner. We expect an exciting jailbreak sequence. Instead, we get this oh-so-easy takeover.
Hand them over.
Let's proceed, huh? Search this fellow first. Try the Cuban.
Wow, that was the jailbreak. Isn't that a thrill? Everybody must have been stoned in that scene. You know, we've been told that British actors have higher artistic values than American actors. Oh yeah, that's ridiculous. The only reason Richard Burton made this picture was for the money. The same goes for Richard Harris and Roger Moore, who also appear in this film. The Wild Geese is a boring picture that exploits racism as some kind of sporting entertainment. And worst of all, it's dull. Dull. Deadly dull.
You're right, Gene, but things were not all that bad during 1978. As a matter of fact, there were a lot of good movies last year. And at the end of the year, it's traditional for movie critics to pick the year's 10 best. Now, Gene and I recently wrote articles for the two newspapers we work for about our top 10 favorites and our reasons for choosing them, and as usual, we disagreed.
About half the time.
About half the time. If you'd like to compare our list, we'll send you a free copy of each one, so just send a stamped, self-addressed, long envelope to Sneak Previews, WTTW, Box 1100, Chicago, Illinois, 60690. That's Box 1100, Chicago, 60690.
And next on Sneak Previews, we'll take a look at some of the new movies coming up, including a comedy that's an old-fashioned 1930s double feature, movie. Also, a romantic drama about a figure skater, Ice Castles, and a romantic comedy, same time next year, with Alan Alda and Ellen Burstyn. Until then, see you at the movies.
Funding for this program is provided by this station and by other public television stations.